This building, which was an old brewery, was originally given to the city in order to provide a permanent home for the society and a number of other cultural institutions. Over time, circumstances have evolved in a way that our presence here, our footprint here, has gradually shrunk. So we're in a place where we have a good adequate space for our gallery and library area. Our archival area is shrinking, and it's interesting that part is shrinking because that part is so critical to what we do. I am at least, some of my colleagues in the society get annoyed with me or bored with me about a term of reference I like to use for the work we do, and that is this in the proverb that says, until the lion tells his story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Okay, and so it's very important, and to some of my younger folks, I say, if you ask the hunter what went down, the hunter will tell you that he was just peacefully walking through the savannah, and this mean lion jumped out of the bushes and attacked him. If you ask the lion will say, I was just laying there with my family, chilling, not bothering anybody. Here comes this guy with a big gun, who wanted to attack me. So it's important to tell the story from the perspective of the lion, and it's important that we tell the story from the perspective of African Americans about what happened to us and how that happened. One of the key things that we do is we celebrate Black History Month every year. We do a program at City Hall, a kickoff ceremony for Black History Month. By the way, hopefully these dots will connect and it'll all make sense. I'm not just rambling. It'll all make sense at some point. But the society in '55 was born out of two groups that came together. There was a group that was started, was called the Negro Historical Society here in San Francisco, and there was a group that was the local chapter of the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. The Association for the Study of Negro Life and History is the organization that was originally started, that created Black History Week at the time, that eventually evolved into Black History Month. And it started because that association started because there was a feeling that it was important to help people understand true accounts of African American history and culture. And the feeling is that people understood true accounts, then they would change their attitudes about African Americans, and everything would get better, and we would live happily ever after. Well, we soon discovered that even with all that information, it didn't make any difference, that it was important to actually do things for ourselves about our understanding of our history, and not be as focused on converting other people external to our community, but helping us to know our own history and understand our own history, and empowering ourselves in that way so that we became politically, socially, culturally, and economically empowered. The theme for Black History Month this year is the Emancipation Proclamation. It's a longer theme, but it speaks to two elements: the Emancipation Proclamation and the 50th anniversary on the March on Washington. The Emancipation Proclamation was adopted in 1853, and the 63, and the March on Washington was in 1963. So I'm missing something in there. There's a connection between those two events and circumstances, and I think that's why they are joined together. As you know, the Emancipation Proclamation was intended to, was Abraham Lincoln's proclamation that was intended to free the slaves. It was intended to free the slaves, but it was a strategic political decision on Lincoln's part, because it only was intended to free the slaves in slave states that were in rebellion against the Union. So he was freeing people in areas that he had no control over in order to create disruption within those areas to improve the situation, because the war was not going as well as it could have. So it was a strategic thing. One thing that I found was kind of interesting about that note that you might find interesting. It was not the first time that that issue of emancipation had been used as a strategic notion to in a particular situation or military situation as it relates to slaves. You know, at the Spaniards before, when the Spaniards controlled significant parts of the North America, including the area of Florida, and they were fighting the British, were trying to take over all of Florida. The Spanish issued an Emancipation Proclamation and told all the slaves in the British section that if you come to Florida and you run away, you come to Florida and you join the Catholic Church and abide by Spanish rule, you can have your freedom in Florida. So that was the first instance that I'm aware of slaves in the United States of an Emancipation Proclamation being used. So that idea that there's nothing new under the sun or that things repeat themselves is something that I found interesting.